Courtney Wallstrom visited the studio virtually in July 2020. I kept her on the line for an hour and a half while we worked through a bad connection and had our own connection when it came to our experiences. I have to admit, I was extremely judgmental toward the actions of Courtney's mother's partner. What I didn't realize until after we spoke is that essentially the same thing happened to me, and I didn't find any malice in those same actions my mom took. We never know how we might react, so I'm sorry for my rash judgment of someone else in a very stressful situation. Basically, the second portion of our time was unusable due to audio quality. Courtney shared her experience with attending therapy and spoke very highly of the great guy she has in her life. If you'd like to contact Courtney, you can find her on Facebook as Courtney Wallstrom, Instagram at Bone Crusher Queen, or check out the Bro Show PHX to see her work.
My name is Courtney Wallstrom. I am 24 years old. I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and I am a vet tech, and I also do stand-up at night when it's safe to go outside. So I'm not doing stand-up now.
Do you miss it?
Yeah.
This is a FatKid Production, you steady.
Little oval face that makes me sad comes and goes by. Could wrote the book of Joe instead. Oh, to go now. Heavy eyes, so help me make this bed over and over. Tell me what it takes to make you stay so lonely.
Welcome to Parentless.
Yes, hello.
Hello there. Thanks for taking your evening and hanging out with me.
Thanks for having me.
Who died for you? Who was your person?
My mom is the one that passed away.
And what's her mom's name?
Her name was Tabitha Dawn Wallstrom. She was 51. So she had been in the military for 22 and a half years. She retired in 2006. She was a sergeant, first class chaplain's assistant. E7 was her ranking.
What happened with her?
I was 16 when she passed away. Because of the military, she had like an insane amount of health issues. She pretty much ended up retiring 100% disabled. So she had like disc issues. She had back surgeries.
Wow.
She had like no cartilage in her kneecaps. She had COPD, Hep C. She just had like so many health issues. And so they had, the VA sucks. I think everyone knows that. But they had pretty much just thrown like a bunch of medication at her for a long time. And she ended up dying of an accidental like overdose of Vicodin and Xanax.
Can you explain your thoughts on that?
So it was listed as an accident, but my mom had really, really bad PTSD that wasn't like appropriately addressed, I feel like. They kind of she had chronic fatigue, so they gave her Adderall, and then she was in chronic pain, so they gave her Vicodin, and then like it's been proven like Xanax is horrible for long-term anxiety and can make you a lot worse. It can exacerbate your depression. Like it's really horrible, but like they kind of just, gave her all these things that you shouldn't give people. And she had attempted suicide before. And like her and her then partner had like decided they were separating a couple of days prior. So just the whole situation was really weird. Like it was still super unexpected. Like I was obviously floored by it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I genuinely don't know, like, it was an accident or not. I don't know, like...
Where were you when you found out?
I was in my bedroom. Basically, her girlfriend came into my room. I was sleeping, and she was like, Courtney, like, get up. Something's wrong with your mom. And so I got out of bed. I was like, you know, I was pretty confused. And then I went in there, and she was just lying on the bed. And then I went up to her, and like, I like touched her, like I touched her arm, and it was ice cold. It was one of those things, like, I knew right away, but I didn't know how to respond. So I like started shaking her, and she was stiff, and it was awful. And so I went out into the kitchen, and I just grabbed my phone. I called 911, and I was just like, hello, I think my mom's dead. And so they came. They said that she had been gone for like 2 hours or so. And then, yeah, that was kind of it for that day. Like, I was just kind of, I don't know.
This part really kind of bothered me, honestly, was that your mom's partner came to get you to tell you that. And you just said that now you're the one calling 911. Like, immediately in my head, I was just like, well, why didn't this lady, I mean, if you wake up next to someone and you see them and they need help, I would think maybe the first step was 911, and then maybe she comes. So I don't know. Is that ever something that crossed your mind?
Yeah. Like, no, that was, I mean, I feel like that was a horrible thing to do. Like, hey, come, you know,
right,
come look at your very clearly dead parent. I don't know if like she was just in a state of shock and wasn't sure what to do, but I don't know really why she didn't do anything. But so much other sketchy stuff ended up happening with that lady, like, because they had been together maybe like a year and a half, and she had lived with us for the past like 6 months or so. But my mom had like just made her a beneficiary of her life insurance. So that lady essentially, like, she moved out of state 4 days after my mom died. And then she ended up like cashing in the life insurance policy and blocking me from everything. So because I was a minor, it was like, oh yeah, you're going to get this, but like hold on to it for my kid who is a minor. And she just took it and disappeared.
Not that money matters, but did you see any of that? She didn't, none of that.
No, it was $50,000 that I just didn't get. There were 2 other ones that I got when I turned 18. So I don't know why she had 3 different ones, but she had 2 other ones that I did claim that it was a total of $30,000 when I was 18. So I did have that to help me with living expenses when I was in college, but that was pretty much it. Like, my mom I think she had like a will in a safety deposit box, like in a bank, but the bank, like, my mom didn't list anyone
right. So how are you
with access to it? Yeah. And so it was just going to be like a long legal process for the will, but she still had a loan on the house and the car. So it wasn't like there was anything that would have came to me, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, the house, you know, got foreclosed on pretty quickly. The car got repossessed. So yeah, I just kind of, you know, I could have fought to become the executor of the estate to get access to all of that, but like, especially immediately after it happened and then a couple of years following, I just like didn't want to put myself through like that process. Especially like, I moved to Phoenix when I was 18, and this happened in Sierra Vista, which is like 3 hours away. So just having to like go back down there a lot, and everything just wasn't really, I don't know.
Well, I don't ever mean to say I know how you feel at all, but I didn't find my dad, but my mom found my dad, and then she came and she told me, oh, I think your dad is dead. And so I was 13. And so then I went down and I also touched his cold body. So that's interesting that we kind of know.
Yeah. Like, it's just that amount of trauma. You know, I still have nightmares, you know. So, yeah, it's just, why would you subject a child to that? Like, I gained nothing from that.
Right.
You know, that is the last image I had with my mom in my head. Like, that's the last thing that I remember. Like, if I think about it, like, I can feel it still.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, her partner was like a nightmare of a person anyway. So yeah, I feel like she probably just wasn't sure what to do. But I guess that's like the convenient part for her, that gay marriage wasn't legal, because she didn't have to worry about me if she was able to flee the state and not like get charged with anything.
Oh, that's pretty low. I didn't think of that part of it. Well, to me, I was just like, oh, well, like, why as a human being would you then leave a child behind? But I didn't even think about there not being any laws behind it.
Yeah, because like, she had just lived there. She had no real obligation to me, I guess. Like, but I don't know. I would imagine that like my mom probably would have expected her to do something else other than she did. But I mean, yeah, she kind of just disappeared off the face of the earth. Like, she moved to some weird small town in Texas, blocked me on Facebook, changed her phone number.
Well, Texas can keep her. And you said your dad wasn't around either.
Correct. That is a whole other insane, like, story. Basically, my mom was gay and lied to me about it. And the person that, like, raised me growing up was her girlfriend, but, like, I was always told they were just best friends. And, you know, like, they told me they slept in the same room so that I could have my own bedroom. Because that just, I guess, made sense to like a 6-year-old. But, yeah, basically that's kind of, you know, what happened. And I had never really questioned it. Like, I knew other people had dads. Like, to me, it was just, oh, I just don't have a dad. Like, I still have 2 parents. So, like, my mom's girlfriend, her name was Deb. She was kind of like the stay-at-home mom. Like, she would take me to school, do like cooking and cleaning. And so later on, I found out she was, you know, gay, like, years after she died. But when I was 10, we moved to Sierra Vista, and my mom found out that my dad also lived there. And she was in the process of retiring, and she was filing for child support. And so, like, he said, like, I wasn't his and all this stuff. So I had to get a DNA test done. I didn't really know what was going on.
And
but
you were 10?
Yeah. And so, like, before this, I really don't remember, like, asking about my dad or, like, caring really, you know, because, like, I just wasn't under the impression that was something that I needed to care about. But basically, I met him, and he said he wanted to be, like, involved with my life. And I was like, cool. Like, let's do it. His mom ended up calling me. So my grandma called me one day, and she was like, if your mom doesn't drop the, like, child support case or whatever, we're not going to have anything to do with you. And I was like, well, if that's all it's going to take, I don't want you to talk to me. So I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to, like, deal with them. And so I told my mom to keep pressing for child support. And then what happened? That was, like, around the time where, like, my mental health exploded. And that was, like, when I was first diagnosed with depression and stuff. So that was a whole other thing.
How old were you then? Still 10.
I was 10.
All of this is while you were 10. Okay.
Yeah. So I was diagnosed with depression when I was 10. So then it went back and forth. Like, he would call me sometimes, and then he wouldn't. But the whole thing with that, him not wanting to talk to me, was he had cheated on his wife with my mom. And so he had a wife and 2 children. So I have an older brother and a younger brother. And my younger brother is 4 months younger than me. So there was a lot, like, I would assume pressure from his wife to, you know, not have anything to do with me. Because it's like, not only did you find out your husband cheated on you, but there's an entire child. So that was a thing. And it was kind of constant. Like, he'd be like, yeah, I want to be involved. Just kidding. No, I don't. And so, I mean, I kind of already had all of the, like, ingredients to become mentally ill. It was just, like, waiting for the one, like, fucking match.
The one last straw, yep.
Yeah. And so that was, like, kind of the beginning of all of that fun stuff. And then I tried to kill myself when I was 13. And for some reason, like, when I was in, like, I don't know, I was really out of it because I took a bunch of different pills. And I, like, in the hospital, I guess I asked for my dad. So my mom called him, and him and his wife came to the hospital. And then he was like, no, I've decided I want to be a part of your life. And then I, like, got to meet my brothers, and we hung out for a couple of months. But then he took me on a road trip to meet his side of the family. And his mom, like, I was 13 at this point, and his mom started telling me, like, that my mom was a whore, and, like, she took advantage of my dad. And so that was great. And then a couple days later, his wife ended up telling me, basically, like, the only reason that we started talking to you is because if you killed yourself, it would make us look bad. I called my mom the next day, and she bought me, like, a plane ticket ASAP to go home. And then after that, they got back from the trip, like, a month after, but I didn't see them or talk to them. And then they, like, moved to Louisiana that December. So I hadn't, like, it was back and forth again, where, like, my dad would not talk to me, and then he would talk to me again, and then he wouldn't.
How did these, like, reapproaches happen? I mean, was it all, like, how were you at this point? Were you initiating contact with him, or was it just when he decided to kind of come into your life?
Yeah, it would pretty much, like, I remember some instances, like, after his mom said that to me, we didn't really talk. And then before I attempted suicide, I think one summer I called him, and he just, like, flat out told me, like, to stop calling him. And then basically after I hung out with them and then I came back, they told me they were moving to Louisiana, and then contact kind of just fell off. I would, like, text my older brother, but while he would be in the shower, his mom would, like, go into his phone and block my number. So it was, like, a pretty adamant effort. And at that point, I was like, it had been so back and forth. I didn't want to keep, like, opening up to get hurt. So I just kind of let it be and didn't make any more attempts to contact. Like, he would, like, send me a Christmas card, and that would pretty much be it for a while. But because we had done all the court stuff for the child support, and it was, like, known that he was my father, that was who was technically responsible for me once my mom died. And he obviously didn't want to have anything to do with it. Like, the first thing he told me was, I'm sure they'll find a nice foster home for you. So I, like, CPS got involved, and they threatened to charge him with, like, neglect and abandonment if he didn't do something. So he ended up just signing a power of attorney over to someone, like, that had worked with my mom's therapist that I kind of knew, who I lived with. But yeah, so that was a whole thing. But, like, it was super traumatic and, like, awful. But what I found out, like, within the last few months is that my mom and her girlfriend had been together for, like, a couple of years before my dad was in the picture. And basically, like, my mom sought out my dad because, like, he seemed like a decent genetic specimen. like he was tall and white, and they wanted a kid and had, like, tried other methods. They had, like, bought sperm on the internet. They had, like, had friends put stuff in a jar. So my mom just decided to do it the old-fashioned way to get pregnant. So, like, just recently I found out that, like, the plan was to never have him involved anyway. So the whole, like, child support and, like, him not wanting to be involved, but then wanting to be involved, like, I basically realized I went through all of that trauma for no reason. Because if they had just been honest with me and said, look, like, we're gay, like, it's not that he doesn't want you, he just, you know, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would have saved me, like, years of anguish. But you couldn't be gay in the military. It was, like, it was stupid. It was very stupid. Yeah, my dad, like, and we talked kind of on and off for a while. But within the last couple years, he reached out to me and said, like, he's really decided he wants to know me to some extent. So we kind of talk sometimes. It's not consistent. It's like, he came out to visit a couple years ago, and I took him to some comedy shows, but, like, he'll send me a text sometimes, and that's about it. But his dad died, like, a couple years ago, and, like, he had reached out to me and kind of was, like, talking about his feelings. And I'm like, oh yeah, is it difficult to lose a parent? Like, is that hard for you? Like,
yeah.
But, so pretty much, like, yeah, I haven't had to deal with a parental figure at least since I was 18, because I kind of pretty much stopped talking to the lady I lived with.
We'll be right back.
Thank you for taking the time to be with me here today. Your support and dedication of the Parentless podcast community is amazing and much appreciated. If you like what you've heard, been helped by what you've heard, or would like to share your story, please contact me at parentlesspodcast@gmail.com or Parentless Podcast on Facebook and Instagram.
So you turned 18, you got out of there, and you started this journey that you're on now. Tell me what happened when you turned 18. You packed up?
Yeah. Oh, funny thing. She kicked me out because I didn't want to give her $400 a month in rent. I had already packed up my stuff because I wanted to leave anyway. So I kind of just had everything ready already. So I grabbed it, my dog. I stayed with a friend for a few days. And then I ended up moving in with her daughter, who lived in Surprise. Yeah, I kind of just packed everything in my car and left and didn't look back. And I lived with her daughter for a couple of months.
What was that feeling for you? Just to get, did you have to sell anything, or you just took, you just took what you had, or did you get rid of some things?
I fit as much as I could in my car. It was a little Toyota Corolla, but I didn't have any, like, furniture or anything. I just kind of put what I had in my car. And then so I stayed with her daughter for about 6 months or so. She had an extra room with, like, a bed that I slept in, but I pretty much, like, got a job immediately and started college. So I was able to help out financially. And then not long after is when I got the other life insurance policy. So that helped me kind of, float on for the first year. Like, because I had been working and going to school, and I was able to stop working a couple months into school and, move into my own apartment with some friends and, furnish it to some extent and get a bed and all of that. So
those are, like, some pretty major, like, goals. Goals kind of, but just something, being young and working and making your own money and supporting yourself and being able to buy yourself a bed and have a roof over your head.
Yeah. And that's how I try to look at it, is like, I'm obviously not, super, like, financially well off, but I am stable, I was able to like lease a car and pay it off, you know, just little things like that. You know, I've moved a couple different times. You know, I finished college and then I worked in the field I went to school for.
What was that?
Being a veterinary technician. I guess used it as motivation to get everything together, because it's like, I would rather, you know, be tired from working or whatever than have to go back to Sierra Vista. So I was able to kind of, you know, take what I had and turn it into something, you know, and sort of continue to strive for something, I guess. And I think it also helps that, like, I've really been at points where I've had nothing. Mm-hmm. And so I can appreciate
what you do have.
Yeah. Like,
for yourself,
you know, the ability to like get a new couch, you know what I mean? Or like just not worrying about how I'm going to pay rent, just like little things. And, you know, being in a healthy relationship and like, you know, having friends that aren't awful and just, you know, all these things that wouldn't have necessarily been possible otherwise. And like, not that, you know, I think my mom had to die for me to do these things, but I didn't have a choice to like, I didn't have any other options. You know, I could have, you know, like some younger people that will like stay at home or just like the freedom to like fuck up and be like, oh, that's fine. I can just, you know, call my mom and she'll give me a couple grand. You know what I mean? Like, although a lot of my skills have been bred by being forced to learn how to do things, I'm grateful that I have a lot of lived experience.
Do you ever talk to your mom in your head? Did you have that kind of relationship with her that you would try to talk to her now? Tell me about that.
The last couple years of our relationship, we did start to get really close. So we kind of talked about anything and everything for the most part. Now I don't really, you know, as much. I've written letters to her. Mm-hmm. And I have most of the time, like, because of PTSD and stuff, I get nightmares a lot. Every once in a while, I'll have one about her that isn't like horrible. Mm-hmm. So I think sometimes I'll just like sit here and like think about how my mom would react to a certain situation I'm dealing with. And half the time I'm like, well, if my mom would be pissed at them, then I should probably be pissed at them.
Good. Do you ever, and some people, you know, have a sign. Do you ever have any communication or anything like that from your mom?
Yeah, there's this one song that was like new before she died that she was obsessed with, and so much she like bought the whole CD. I think it's called Animal by the Neon Trees. Mm-hmm. And like we would listen to it all the time. And I've noticed weirdly in like situations where I'm super stressed, there have been times where like I was super broke, like had a title loan out on my car, was about to like get evicted if I couldn't get a job. And so on the way to the interview and on the way home from it, I heard that song on the radio both times, and I got the job, which like, it's not that popular. Like it was popular when it came out, but like, it's not a song that you hear a lot. And yeah. And like, so there have been times where I'll just, you know, hear it and be like, oh, like, cool. I think like a couple months ago, or back in October, I had to have like emergency surgery for a large ovarian cyst, and ended up finding a bunch of endometriosis. But the doctor left all of it. And so I ended up like finding out I was going to need to have a second surgery.
Sorry. Why did he leave it?
He didn't know what he was doing.
On purpose. Oh my gosh.
No, he just didn't know what he was doing. And so like he pulled the cyst off, but because the cyst was caused by the endometriosis, the cyst came back within 3 weeks. So it's basically I was going to need surgery again, and I ended up losing my left ovary because of it. But anyway, before I had, like, around the time, like, my boyfriend and I had to move because of a, like, house fire. Like, within, you know, a couple months of the surgery, there was a fire. And we had, like, just moved, and then I found out I was going to need a second surgery after, like, I had just taken the time off work and, like, figured out finances and stuff. I was driving, like, I don't remember where I was going, but I was, like, in the car kind of just, like, panicking. I don't know, like, how I'm going to do this. I don't know what's going on. Like, this is a nightmare. Like, someone must have cursed me. And I didn't even, like, I was so upset that the radio was barely even turned on. But I heard it a little bit and the fucking song came on. I swear to God, it's like anytime I'm, like, really starting to panic, it'll just, like, I'll just hear it and it'll start playing on the radio, which is very weird because it's not like most of these, I don't know. I don't hear that song any other time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Do you believe in, I don't know, do you believe in ghosts?
I don't know that I believe in ghosts. It's just, I don't know. And same, like, there was some weird stuff that happened immediately after my mom died. Like, a couple years prior, I had gotten her a Build-A-Bear pig, but I put, like, a cat sound in it for Mother's Day, I think. And she loved it. She slept with it every night. But after she died, I had put it up in, like, a cabinet. And then I had left the house, and then I had, like, come back, and it was, like, laying face up on her bed. That was just weird. Like, no one else had been in the house. It was after everyone had left. Like, no one else had access to the house. And then the only other thing.
Was her bed in a completely different room than where you kept it?
I put it on the shelf, like, on top
Of her
in
bed?
her closet.
Oh, in her.
But it's a good, at least, like, there is 6 feet of space minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, if it had fallen, like, it wouldn't have landed there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that was just kind of weird. And then another time I went there, and it was after I had, like, shut the door and been there for a minute, but I was, like, walking around, and one of the pictures of her, like, in her military dress blues just, like, fell and shattered. So, like, there had been a couple of just, like, weird little things.
Pictures falling always creep me out.
Right. And it's like, depending on the picture too, like, I have regular posters that fall down because they're not, like, hung up well, but this picture had been up there for years. I know, like, if you shut a door, you know, it can shake the walls and stuff, but I'd already been in the house. So it was just one of those, this is weird. And, like, my mom had, like, a safe that she kept some stuff in. And the day she died, like, the cat that we had wouldn't leave it. It was, like...
He wouldn't leave the...
safe. Like, he was just sleeping on top of it.
Did he ever do that before?
No. So it's just, it was, like... It was just fucking weird.
Did you guys ever open the safe?
Maybe? I don't remember. Probably.
I was wondering if there was something crazy in the safe, you know, like...
I think, no, it was like my grandma, like, there was a little package of, like, rings and stuff that were from my grandma that were meant to be given to me. And then just, like, other random stuff that my mom had. She kept, like, her, like, pills in there too. So it wasn't, like, super crazy. But yeah, it was just weird because my grandma died when I was 10. So it was just a weird situation. But then, like, there have been other times where, like, you know, after, like, the house fire and the surgery, I was really struggling. I was like, am I cursed? Like, is somebody, like, is there really just like, why do all of these very weird, horrible things keep happening, like in chronological order? So we have cyst number 1, surgery. A week later, my dog needed an emergency surgery that would have been like $2,500, but I managed to take him to like a lower cost place and did it for $700. So then my dog needs a surgery. And then my boyfriend and I had just renewed the lease on our place. Like we had finally just like, and then 2 months, there was a fire that forced us to move because it like exploded the power box. And then like the cyst came back, needed surgery again. And then at our new apartment, someone broke into my car and stole a vial of my mom's ashes.
And that's it? No.
So like, it has been just like this weird succession of events. Because like usually like bad things have happened to me before, but they're usually spaced out. So for all of this to happen so close together was really weird.
So when they stole that from your car, did they steal other things?
Well, there wasn't anything like of value in there. They left like an aux cord, but I didn't really keep anything like expensive in there. They like, I had trash. I had like an old like bag of tacos, and they individually like opened each wrapper and looked through it. And they stole like a bunch of pens that I had in my glove box. So like nothing. Yeah.
I'm still stuck on like why they would choose that. I don't know.
I don't know, because like, I don't know if the container looks like it might be expensive, because it was like this big, and it was like kind of gold and black and had like an eagle design on it. So I don't know if they thought like it was like, I don't know what the fuck they thought it was.
Maybe drugs. I hope not.
Yeah, just
I don't know why they would.
imagine someone fucking trying to like snort my mom. I'm like, well, you know, maybe she had fun, you know, she got to get lit up by some crackheads, you know. Would she have found it funny? I hope so. For a while I was like, maybe I'm cursed, and that is just how it is. So one night one of my friends had advised me to like write a letter to her and like sleep with it under my pillow, and nothing happened. Like I did it for a couple nights and just nothing happened. So like, I don't know.
Have you tried anything else?
Another one of my friends told me to like make her an offering. So I like bought her pack of cigarettes, and I like put it by her ashes, like just to see, because like I feel like I was at the point where I was like, well, nothing else is doing anything. But yeah, no, nothing like weird or crazy happened. I haven't like tried to talk to a medium or anything of that nature. I've considered it, but I don't know.
I'm still torn as to, you know, do I think my mom is looking down on me? Do I think she sees what I'm doing? Like, I kind of hope she's not seeing what I'm doing, because I know she doesn't like it.
When people tell you that, like, your lost loved ones are looking down on you, like, do they have a schedule? Because you're going to see some weird stuff if you come at a certain time. Like, I don't need you rolling up to check on me when I'm doing scandalous activities. I know, knowing my mom, like, I know that she would be proud of me. She was the type, like, she was proud of everything that I did, you know? Like, she let me drop out of high school because I hated it and I was super depressed. And I took my GED test and I scored in, like, the 98th percentile for most of the things. Mm-hmm. And she was, like, balls to the wall, stoked on it. Like, she didn't care that it was a GED. She was like, oh my God, you got good test scores. I remember when I went to take my permit test, I failed the written test the first 2 times. And then when I passed on the third, she started like jumping up and down and like yelling in the middle of the DMV, like, my baby passed her test. She can drive. I think knowing the things that I've managed to accomplish in my life, like, you know, graduating college, like living on my own, everything that I have done so far, I know that she would be stoked on it. You know, I know she would be obsessed with my boyfriend. I think that's good that I can hold on to the fact knowing that she would be proud. And even though she had a lot of mental health issues and things like that, I'm in therapy. I'm really working on processing a lot of things and unraveling all this trauma, because there's, you know, her mom was horrible in other ways. So my mom had like not actually dealt with it, which caused her a lot of problems. So I think too, like I found a quote not that long ago. It used to run in my family and then it ran into me. So I really like that, because I think a lot of people like to use their trauma as like an excuse to continue hurting other people. And that's like the opposite of how I want to live. And so I think like people say, well, oh, I went through this, that's why I'm this way. And I'm like, well, I went through that and that's why I don't want to be that way. And I think like it's just one of those things that I hold important to me is, you know, because I have, you know, been caused so much pain and things like because of other people. I try to spend as much as I can to make sure like I'm not doing that. And so I think I place a lot of like my self-value and worth in at least trying to be a decent person. Like I don't, you know, want to be a person that somebody thinks about and gets like an uneasy feeling in their stomach, or like, you know, if someone thinks about me, they like have a bad memory, or like people don't need to like me. You know, I don't have to be like the most admired person on earth, but like, I just don't want to be like a source of pain.
And your answers that you gave me, you said the number one question I ask my therapist is if I'm being manipulative. And that's my absolute worst fear. And I never want to be like that at all.
Yeah.
So is it because of how these people have treated you in your life that you feel like you might have displayed manipulative behaviors, or where did that come from? Do you know?
It's just kind of been a theme, like where I like somebody will actively hurt me and then, you know, blame me for it and make me feel like I'm the bad person that like deserved it, if that makes sense. Like,
all right, can I ask what type of mental health problems were in your family?
My mom had like really bad depression, PTSD, and then same thing, I think, with my grandma. And then my dad's mom, I think, is maybe bipolar. And so me personally, I have depression, anxiety, PTSD. So yeah, it's just no bueno.
Yeah, no, I feel like that might be connected, of course, in some ways to you being treated that way. Is there anything that you would like to tell your mom now?
I'm okay. I think that's what I would let her know.
Yeah. She would appreciate that, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
So we didn't talk about your hobbies, but you do comedy. Any listeners can check out, you know, your sketches. There are some on the internet, so they can definitely find out what you got. I will say I did get to go to one of your shows. It was great. I had 2 $15 margaritas, and I was definitely stumbling out that door. But I enjoyed your show, and it was great.
I'm glad you had fun. Good to hear.
So, okay, I'll let you get to bed. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you. Good night.
All right, good night.
Empty faces, covered in glass, splitting fake skin, passing me by.
Parentless is recorded in Phoenix, Arizona. Find us on social media and any podcast platform. Music provided by Colin the Coco and the Revolving Birds. Studio provided by FatKid Productions. Check out one of the many shows available on our network. I'm your host, Stephanie Relaford. Thank you for listening to Parentless.